of Canadians, but also those who come from abroad and who would like to come to Canada and Quebec. So once again, I would like to commend all of my colleagues. I would like to highlight their work, and I think that this should become a great example for the future in other committees. Mr. Speaker, it was a pleasure to rise today, just before question period. Thank you very much. The honourable member will have 5 minutes for questions and answers when we return to our deliberation on the matter.
By members, déclaration de député, the honourable member for Kitchener Centre.
Mr. Speaker, to celebrate someone who's made our city so proud, and that's Jamal Murray. From the Stanley Park Community Centre and Grand River Collegiate to the 7th overall pick, to helping lead the Denver Nuggets to an NBA championship last night, it doesn't get much bigger than this. Jamal is just the 9th Canadian to win an NBA title, and his 26.1 points per game are now the most by a Canadian in an NBA playoff run ever. He also has the most points scored ever by a Canadian player in a playoff run, and in second place, Jamal again from the 2020 playoffs. And it's not just the accolades. Since he was 3 years old, Jamal has been building up to a moment like this with determination, mental strength, and unwavering commitment. Congratulations, Jamal, Sylvia, and Roger, and the rest of your family. Our whole city and country is proud of you, and we can't wait to welcome you home.
The honourable member for Aurora, Oak Ridges, Richmond Hill.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. As provinces across Canada continue to battle wildfires, it's never been more important to recognize the vital role firefighters and fire services play in our communities. I'm proud to congratulate the entire graduating class of 2023 from the Central York Fire Service, whose graduation I attended last week. Congratulations to Taylor Dallas, Lindsay Hoffman, Chris Sargent, Bailey Van Pret, Jacob Watson, Trevor Fulcher. I want to give a special shout out to Lindsay Hoffman, the only woman in her graduating class. While all 6 graduates went through an intense 9-week training program, I know that as a woman, Lindsay overcame even more barriers to get there. Thank you to Lindsay for being a positive role model for other women. Central York Fire Services is the backbone of emergency services in Aurora and Newmarket, and I'm particularly grateful to them as their quick and professional response to an emergency at my home saved my husband's life, not once, not twice, but on 3 separate occasions in 2022, the last time bringing him back from complete cardiac arrest. To all Canadian firefighters, we will always have your backs as you have ours. It was heartening that Bill C-224, a national strategy on cancers related to PFAS chemicals and firefighters' equipment, introduced by my colleague, the member for Longueuil, Charles Lemoine, was passed unanimously. In closing, thank you to Fire Chief Ian Lang and Deputy Chief Rocco Vopel for their outstanding leadership and hard work, which has made Central York Fire Services one of the best in the country.
The honourable member for Saskatoon, Grasswood.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. According to this Liberal government, everything is fine. Why is it 1 in 5 Canadians are visiting a food bank? Why is it deficits continue to pile up? Why is it that students are being forced to choose between education or accommodation? Why is it we have more debt, more inflation, more taxes, and higher costs? It's because of this Liberal government has added over $60 billion in inflationary spending. But wait, there's more bad news. Not only carbon tax 1, carbon tax 2 is coming. It's going to cost Saskatchewan families over $2,800. Common sense conservatives understand the hardship caused by this Liberal government's failed policies. Canadians, coast to coast to coast, can't wait to boot this tax and spend government off to the sidelines.
Yeah. The honourable member for Windsor-Tecumseh.
Not so fast. In the summer of 2021, I joined the Automotive Parts Manufacturers Association back home at the Invest Windsor Essex Automobility and Innovation Centre. We announced a federal investment of $5 million to support the development of Project Arrow, the first Canadian-made zero-emission concept vehicle. Tomorrow, less than 2 years later, thanks to the contributions of more than 58 Canadian suppliers, including several in my riding of Windsor-Tecumseh, Project Arrow will make its amazing debut on Parliament Hill. On behalf of President Flavio Volpe, APMA, and all its members, I invite all members of this House to come check out Project Arrow tomorrow from 12:30 to 4:30 in front of West Block, and take pride in this tremendous Team Canada effort. Mr. Speaker, thanks to APMA members, manufacturing communities like Windsor-Essex and St. Thomas are leading the world in electric vehicle and battery manufacturing and innovation. Congratulations to Flavio Volpe and the APMA team, and thank you for leading the charge.
Good job.
Honorable. The Honourable Member for Berthier-Masquinongé. Mr. Speaker, today I'd like to highlight a committed constituent, Lisette Falker. She's just been awarded the Prix Francine Ruest-Jutras by the Union of Municipalities of Quebec. This award recognizes excellence and leadership in women involved in municipal politics and local governance in Quebec. The first municipal councillor to receive the award, Ms. Falker distinguished herself by writing her book Histoire d'élus, which tells the stories of 25 elected women from Lanaudière in order to inspire others to get involved. The book was produced with the Réseau des Femmes Élues de Lanaudière, where she's a project manager and mentor. She's also executive director of Action Famille Lavaltrie, which helps families and new arrivals, who we are delighted to work with. Ms. Falker, you are a trailblazer for women's self-help and commitment and engagement. You are an inspiring role model for Berthier-Masquinongé and for all of Quebec. Hats off to you. The Honourable Member for Orleans.
Monsieur le Président, it's been a busy week in Orléans and our surrounding communities. Last Sunday, I had the honor of attending the Balaji Kalyanam, an important spiritual celebration for the Hindu community in Orléans and in our national capital. On June 3rd, also, I started my day, and it was a busy day, Mr. President. I started with the annual Blackburn Hamlet Fun Fair Parade, which was themed to honor our healthcare heroes.
Then I took part in the first ever Immigrant Business Women's Expo organized by Franco Impact Canada, where I met some exceptional immigrant women entrepreneurs. This was followed by the Fête de la Famille, organized by Point d'Accueil Francophone, which brings together organizations offering services to Ottawa's French-speaking immigrant community.
By joining my colleague, MPP Stephen Blais, 10th Annual Ladies' Tea, an incredible tradition recognizing the women leaders in our community. Merci.
The Honourable Member for Lambton, Kent, Middlesex.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to celebrate the 150th anniversary of two amazing communities that I have the privilege of representing, Inwood and Watford. Inwood and Watford are both rooted in agriculture and have contributed to the growth and development of our region. They have also nurtured a strong sense of community and a culture among their residents and visitors. The people of Inwood and Watford are hardworking, generous, and proud. They value their history and heritage, and they look forward to the future with optimism and hope. To mark this milestone anniversary, both communities are hosting a variety of activities from June 23rd to June 25th that showcase their spirit and achievements. Inwood is holding a 2-day celebration with fun activities for all. Watford is also organizing a 3-day celebration with entertainment and surprises for everyone. Mr. Speaker, I am proud to represent these two remarkable communities and to join with them in celebrating their 150 years of legacy, history, and people. Happy anniversary, Inwood and Watford.
The Honourable Member for Brampton North.
Mr. Speaker, it's my honor to extend a warm welcome to His Holiness Mahant Swami Maharaj as he graces our country with his presence. He's one of the most respected Hindu leaders in the world today and the current spiritual leader of the Bap Swaminarayan Sanstha. He is the successor of Pramukh Swami Maharaj, who gifted Canada with a magnificent Bap Swaminarayan Mandir in Toronto. The presence of His Holiness Mahant Swami Maharaj marks the commencement of celebrations for Bap's Canada's 50 years of dedication to community service. This auspicious event will ignite a year-long festivity, allowing us to reflect upon and commemorate the remarkable achievements and invaluable contributions of BAPS to our great nation. Over the past 5 decades, BAPS, guided by His Holiness's vision, has emerged as a nationally recognized organization. Its spiritual and humanitarian endeavors span across 154 towns and cities throughout Canada. Let's extend a heartfelt gratitude to His Holiness for his visit and for the impact BAPS has made and continues to make in fostering spiritual enrichment, for their significant support during the pandemic, and their dedication to diversity and inclusion. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Vancouver-Grenville.
Mr. Speaker, this month TELUS is helping Canadian youth and families get ready for back-to-school season with its 18th annual Kids for Kids program. The annual TELUS Days of Giving movement continues to grow, now bringing together over 75,000 TELUS team members and retirees across the globe. We know that for many families, it's a stressful time getting ready for back to school. So as part of its annual TELUS Days of Giving, TELUS has proudly donated more than 200,000 kits for kids across Canada since 2006. Members of Parliament from all parties attended our event today and helped put together and pack these backpacks full of school supplies. They'll be distributing over 19,000 kits to youth in need in partnership with governments and community groups. I'd like to thank all MPs from all parties who attended today. Here's to another year of successful volunteering. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Chatham-Kent-Leamington.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On the farm, there's an expression: when it rains, it pours. And while the weather at home is dry right now, farmers are experiencing a rainstorm, a metaphorical one, as a result of this government's continued indifference toward fiscal responsibility. The storm consists of labor shortages, ever-rising interest rates as a result of inflation, as a result of government deficits, fertilizer tariffs and the lack of homegrown fertilizer, not from this chamber, and not one but 2 carbon taxes. Instead of driving winds onto our fields, this storm is driving food prices up to record levels from coast to coast to coast. The entire food value chain has been impacted, with everything from fuel to move our farm products from our input suppliers through to our retailers, and food packaging, which has seen dramatic cost price increases. Mr. Speaker, Canadian farmers provide us with food security in an insecure world. The least we can do is stop drowning them in a sea of government incompetence.
The Honourable Member for Yukon.
Mr. Speaker, today the Yukon Territorial Legislature meets in a special session in Dawson City to mark the 125th birthday of the Yukon Territory. On this day, 125 years ago, just over a year after the discovery of gold in the Klondike, this House passed the Yukon Act, creating a distinct territory out of the Northwest Territories, a vast region from which many other provinces and territories would emerge. Depuis ce temps, l'histoire du Yukon...
Since then, the history of the Yukon has been about gold, leading right up to the modern-day industrialization.
Of many of the vital critical minerals poised to jumpstart Canada into the new green economy. In the years since June 13th, 1898, we have also belatedly come to embrace the vital history and heritage of Yukon First Nations. Today's Yukon Territory is one with self-governing First Nations, a progressive and outward-looking people, and an economy and population growth that is the envy of the nation. Colleagues, please join me in wishing the Yukon a happy 125th anniversary.
The Honourable Member for Kootenay, Columbia.
Mr. Speaker, inflationary spending is driving up the cost of living. Food, housing, and fuel are all hitting record highs. Canadians are stretched thin. According to the International Monetary Fund, Canada has the highest risk of mortgage defaults because of the high levels of household debt compared to similar economies. This government said interest rates would be low for a long time. Debt had no consequences. Now, in a span of a year, interest rates have gone up by 4.5 percentage points. Canadians who believe this government and took on a large mortgage to afford the inflated price of homes now don't know how they're going to pay the bills. Canadians are already experiencing $600 increase in mortgage payments. According to the Bank of Canada, over the next 3 years, a large share of Canadian households will see their payments go up by 40%. It's time to restore stability, to restore hope, bring back common sense of the common people. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
The Honourable Member for North Okanagan, Shuswap.
It's been 40 years since the Trudeau government caused such pain for Canadians with inflationary spending and skyrocketing interest rates. I remember when that Trudeau came through my hometown while on vacation and gave his famous salmon arm salute from his private rail car to a group of protesters calling for restraint on government spending. Interest rates had reached record levels, and people could not afford to keep up with the soaring cost of living. Now, 40 years later, the same out-of-control spending and $60 billion worth of fuel poured on the inflationary fire is causing interest rates 19-fold higher than they were a year ago. And the Prime Minister wants to go on another vacation. While the PM goes on vacation, Conservative members will work through the summer to make things right so that Canadians can afford groceries, afford the cost of living, and afford homes. For your home, my home, our home, now let's bring it home.
The Honourable Member for Alfred Pallon. Mr. Speaker, I'm so pleased to give a shout out to the staff. I would like to point out that at the 25 years of service of 6 teachers at Pierre Elliott Trudeau Elementary School who've contributed to the development of our young people. Teachers Sarah, Daniela, Jennifer, Alexandra, Angie, and Mara.
And your perseverance towards our children are remarkable and makes school home away from home for them. Your contributions over the years to the well-being and learning of children will leave an everlasting effect in their life. Allow me to congratulate you and express my profound gratitude for your 25 years of service. Our entire community is thankful for your hard work, dedication, and commitment towards the students and families of the English Montreal School Board. Cheers to many more.
The Honourable Member for New Westminster, Burnaby.
Today, the member for Vancouver Kingsway, seconded by the member for Burnaby South, retabled the Canada Pharmacare Act. 2 years ago, I was the sponsor of that bill, and Conservatives and Liberals shamefully voted against it. Now, under confidence and supply, Liberals have committed to voting for pharmacare this time. Tommy Douglas always believed in health care that covers you from the top of your head to the soles of your feet. And Canada remains the only country with universal public health care that doesn't have universal pharmacare. Pharmacare will save Canadians over $4 billion a year, according to the PBO. It will save money to our healthcare system, and it will save money for businesses. But most of all, it will save lives. Hundreds of Canadians die every year because they can't afford medication that sometimes costs more than $1,000 a month. The NDP will continue to fight until universal pharmacare becomes a reality. Let's get the Canada Pharmacare Act passed, Mr. Speaker.
I just want to remind the honourable members that statements are in progress, and I'm sure we all want to hear what's being said, correct? Je veux rappeler à tout le monde.
I'd like to remind everyone that statements are still underway, and I'm sure everyone wants to hear what's being said. So we'll keep going with the honourable member for Beauport, Côte-de-Beaupré, Île-d'Orléans, Charlevoix. Mr. Speaker, in Quebec, we don't wait for anyone. The Mange Ton Saint-Laurent collective has understood this, made up of scientists and research chairs like Mélanie Lemire, renowned chefs and mentors like Colombe Saint-Pierre, health professionals and researchers like Yves Bonnier-Vigé and Dominique Robert. They want Quebec to take control over the edible bounty of the St. Lawrence River. How? With their I Am St. Lawrence campaign to support our fisheries and encourage people to buy Quebec seafood products. 85% of our high-end seafood products are exported, and we get stuck with poor quality imports. Mr. Speaker, we vote with our dollars. I encourage everyone to eat local seafood, and like thousands of river enthusiasts, I invite you to proudly display Je suis Saint Laurent in all your communications. On behalf of the Bloc, hats off to the collective. And I give you a thank you as big as the St. Lawrence itself. Like you, I am the St. Lawrence.
The honourable member for Parry Sound, Muskoka.
Mr. Speaker, this Liberal government continues to borrow money and then borrow some more, which means higher deficits, which means higher inflation. And that inflation is resulting in interest rate hikes by the Bank of Canada. And of course, that's making everything more expensive, especially housing and mortgages. Too many Canadians are struggling to pay their mortgages now, and with these rate hikes, many are at risk of losing their homes altogether. They have only the Liberal government to thank for that. Speaker, some are saying that the housing crisis is past the point of no return. But I actually disagree, because when Canadians finally have a government that is willing to fight for the housing that people need, when Canadians finally have a housing minister that acts with the urgency this crisis demands, Mr. Speaker, when the member for Carleton is finally the Prime Minister, then we'll bring it home.
Hear, hear.
The honourable member for Labrador.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you all for the warm welcome. I'm excited to be back in the House of Commons, back to work as a Member of Parliament for Labrador and a Parliamentary Secretary to two amazing ministers of Natural Resources and Northern Affairs. Thank you, colleagues, constituents, staff, family, and friends, for all your support and encouragement and patience as I successfully battled breast cancer for the second time. To those who sent messages and prayers, you lifted me up, and your positive spirit was felt on every step of this journey. I want to express my deep gratitude to the Newfoundland and Labrador healthcare teams. They never relent in their quest for a cure, and they never relent in their service and commitment to their patients. The healthcare system in our province of Newfoundland and Labrador remains strong despite challenges because of the dedicated people we have who work in our healthcare system. I remind all Canadians of the significant progress that have been made in cancer research in our country and how important it is to support the cause for a cure. I encourage women to get regular mammography testing and wellness screening. I am proof that early detection can save lives, but we must all do our part. During this journey to good health, Labradorians were always in my heart. And on June 24th, at the Cancer Society's Relay for Life in Labrador, I will be ringing the bell of hope to celebrate this huge victory over cancer, and I hope that all other Canadians will have the opportunity to ring that bell of hope.
Questions. Question orale. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Today, we found out that there are about 100 police investigations ongoing, investigations into foreign interference. One of these deals with Beijing's targeted intimidation of a member of this House. We have also found out that the National Security Advisor to the Prime Minister had been aware of that intimidation for a long time. This is a conflict of interest. Will the Prime Minister launch a genuine public independent inquiry? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I asked the Minister of Intergovernmental Affairs to work with all the parties, to work with experts in order to develop a plan so that we can move forward and continue the good work, which was done by Mr. Johnston. We now need to move to the next step. We are here, will continue to be here to work collaboratively with all those who want to take this issue seriously, who want to work seriously, set partisanship aside, set toxicity aside, and to work constructively to truly deal with foreign interference. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Now agree that deficits are causing inflation. These include Liberal experts. The former Liberal Premier of Nova Scotia, Stephen McNeil, said deficits are causing inflation. The former Liberal Finance Minister and Deputy Prime Minister, John Manley, says that this Prime Minister's deficits are like putting his foot on the inflationary gas pedal. Even the Deputy Prime Minister at present has said that inflation is caused by deficits. So will the Prime Minister finally table a plan to balance the budget so we can bring down inflation and interest rates?
You're right, Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we know how much the Leader of the Opposition has asked us to trust independent experts and not Liberals on various issues of importance. We disagree. We think Liberals have important things to say. But if he's looking for a strong independent voice, look no further than the Governor of the Bank of Canada, who recently confirmed that government spending is not, quote, contributing to the slowing of the economy, nor is it, quote, standing in the way of getting inflation back to target. We continue to invest in supporting Canadians in targeted ways, while Conservatives continue to talk about cuts to programs and services.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, Mr. Speaker, if he doesn't trust Liberals on the economy, why should anybody else?
That's right.
It was, in fact, his own finance minister who just weeks before she introduced her budget said that deficits are like pouring gas on the inflationary fire. Then, weeks later, she introduced $60 billion, or $4,200 per family, of brand new gas on that fire. Mr. Speaker, our children are screaming because of the debt that they're going to inherit from this government. Will the Prime Minister act responsibly, introduce a plan to balance the budget to bring down inflation and interest rates?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Finance Minister said that, and then she brought in a responsible, fiscally sound budget that continues to contribute, and I know they don't like it because it gets in the way of a good political argument, but if you look at the facts, Mr. Speaker, we have the lowest deficit in the G7, the best debt to GDP ratio, and we preserved our AAA credit rating while being there to support Canadians who needed it in targeted, non-inflationary ways. While the Conservatives continue to propose cuts in programs, cuts in help for Canadians, cuts to services, we'll continue to be there in a way that continues to fight inflation and support Canadians.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Prime Minister's inflationary spending binge caused the price of everything to go up. All that spending and all that money he flooded into the financial system bid up housing prices. They doubled, leading to the most expensive housing prices in the G7. It now takes 25 years for the average family in Toronto to save for a down payment. Used to be able to pay off an entire mortgage in that time period. It takes roughly 90% of a Vancouver family's monthly income to pay the average monthly mortgage. Will the Prime Minister balance the budget to bring down inflation and interest rates so that Canadians don't lose their homes?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
If the Leader of the Opposition was serious about housing, he would have supported our housing investments. Instead, he's focused on cutting services, picking fights with municipalities, and protecting wealthy landlords. On this side, our plan includes collaborating with municipalities, including investing $4 billion to fast-track new housing approvals to create 100,000 new homes, tying infrastructure investments to housing, helping Canadians save up for their first home, providing support for low-income renters, and converting surplus federal lands to affordable housing.
Good answer. Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Il a eu 8 ans.
But he had 8 years to make those promises a reality. All he accomplished was double average rents, double average mortgage payments, and double down payments to buy the average house. We have 2 of the world's 10 most expensive cities, Toronto and Vancouver, and now it takes 25 years just to save enough money for a down payment. Mr. Speaker, Will the Prime Minister finally stop his inflationary deficits to bring down interest rates and enable Canadians to keep their homes? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, over the past years, we have helped Canadians save for their first homes, especially through the first home buyers property incentives and the tax-free savings account for first property. We are also helping repair more housing units by helping municipalities accelerate the construction of 100,000 new houses. We are ensuring that housing is used for housing by ending unfair practices which drive up prices. Especially, we are cracking down on foreign buying of houses and hasty resales of properties just bought. And that's not everything, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, the special reporter's resignation, he was named by the Prime Minister, but this resignation could be a milestone, a real turning point in launching a public, independent commission of inquiry. The Minister for Intergovernmental Affairs showed some signs of openness, which I welcome, but I'm also cautious about it. So here's my question for the Prime Minister. Does he agree with me that the necessary condition in order to end up with a positive result to this situation would be to call a public, independent commission of inquiry?
Premier Ministre.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister. I thank the leader of the Bloc Québécois for having submitted very interesting prospective candidates. We are very open to looking at those candidates as possibilities, and we're also open to working collaboratively, cooperatively on a process that will have the trust and confidence of this House and of Canadians. The issue of foreign interference is way too important to be partisan about it or to be engaging in personal attacks. We will be objective and hardworking. We will take this seriously. We will carry on with the work that's already underway, and we will restore the trust of Canadians in our electoral system and in our democracy. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now, Mr. Speaker, I have to come back to this. We need to agree on a basic principle, the principle of a commission of inquiry and appointing the leader of that commission of inquiry. And the leader must be independent from the government, totally independent, in order to be able to do his or her work. And if we agree on that basic principle, then and only then can we move forward to select a candidate. And if the Prime Minister would like to discuss candidates with me, I can be reached at any time for this. But we need to solve this clearly, officially, before the end of the session. The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we do agree on the fact that we need to move forward quickly and in the right way. I'm very open to having discussions with opposition parties. Unfortunately, though, over the course of the past few months, there's been a high degree of toxicity, partisanship, and personal attacks. It's been very unfortunate. I'm happy to hear that people are now open to working seriously on on interference. And we are happy to carry on ongoing work in order to protect our democracy, our institutions, and our electoral system. The Honourable Member for Burnaby South. I remember when I was in university and my brother had to live with me. I had to work 3 jobs. It was a hard time, but it's even harder for students these days. They have to share apartments with many other students. They're in too small, too expensive, and unhygienic apartments. This is a matter of dignity. When will the Prime Minister stop wasting time and take action to bring down rent costs for students? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we have been investing in housing for many years now through various programs to help students and low-income families. We've also been working on programs to encourage more home building and housing building. We are here for students. We're here to help them immediately right now, but we also want to help them for the future so that they can contribute to society in the future. That is why we eliminated interest on student loans federally in the last budget. We are here with more supports for students, including always looking into new ways to help with rent.
For Burnaby South.
I want the Prime Minister to imagine what it's like for students trying to find a place to rent in this country right now. Take, for example, a student in Windsor. The CBC reports that a 24-year-old student living in an apartment in Windsor with his sister, is on the verge of homelessness because the cost of rent has gone up by so much. Sadly, this is the story of so many students who cannot find a place to rent that's in their budget. The reality is this government's been a failure when it comes to housing. So when will this government take this issue seriously and take concrete steps to bring down the cost of rent for students?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we took this issue seriously back in 2017 when we put forward a $40 billion national housing strategy that Conservatives opposed, even though they hadn't engaged in housing for 10 years, and then got up to about $70 billion in that national housing strategy. And more recently, we've put $4 billion on the table directly to invest with municipalities instead of fighting them with them like the Conservatives wanted to do, to work with them to accelerate investments, to accelerate zoning processes, to accelerate permitting, to build more supply of housing, to take the pressure off so many Canadians around the housing market.
The Honourable Member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands and Rideau Lakes.
For months, the Prime Minister has tried to cover up Beijing's interference in our democracy. He's denied, he's changed his story, and he's hired as many members of the Trudeau Foundation as will accept the job to try and help him with that cover-up. Now that David Johnston has done what this House called on him to do and resigned from the made-up position that the Prime Minister gave him for $1,500 a day, will the Prime Minister do what this House has called on him to do 3 times and call a public inquiry?
The Honourable Minister for Intergovernmental Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, I think the Prime Minister was clear in response to a previous question today. Our government is looking to collaborate in a constructive way with opposition parties, to hear from experts and other professionals in this space to design precisely those next steps forward, since Mr. Johnston has decided to leave his position as Special Rapporteur. And we think that Canadians would benefit from a collaborative conversation, one that we've always been inclined to have. We found it difficult on the other side, Mr. Speaker, to find a willing partner, but we're more encouraged this week than we were a week ago.
Hear, hear. The Honourable Member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands and Rideau Lakes.
Canadians haven't been encouraged by the inaction by this government. We heard today at committee that the Deputy Minister for Foreign Affairs knew for 2 years that members of this House were being targeted for intimidation by foreign state actors like the dictatorship in Beijing. And what did this government do? Absolutely nothing. It's not a comedy of errors, it's a tragedy of errors with this government. Opposition parties have 3 times called for the government to have a public inquiry and have been ready to collaborate the entire time. Will the government now make up for lost time and the wasted months on this issue and finally call a transparent public inquiry?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I was surprised to hear a Conservative member speak about inaction on this file, because that's exactly what the Leader of the Opposition did for 2 years when he was Minister responsible for democratic institutions. Our government is the first government to take concrete steps to counter foreign interference in the democratic institutions. We've strengthened these measures time and time again, and now we're looking forward again to hearing constructive suggestions from the opposition about how we can work together to further strengthen these measures. That's always been our approach, and we'll continue to do that.
The Honourable Member for Brantford Brant.
Mr. Speaker, here we are. This government has been deflecting and dodging for 3 months on this issue. Canadians have not been duped. No public inquiry, no truth, and no responsibility shown by this government. Now, with David Johnston's resignation, the government has only one option: an open and independent inquiry. Canadians support it, the majority of this House supports it, and even their very own Liberal minister declared that it was never off the table. When will this government call a public inquiry?
The Honourable Minister for Public Safety.
Well, there's one thing that the honourable member said across the way that I do agree with, which is that we continue to look at all options, including a public process, to shine a light on the way in which we are fighting foreign interference, Mr. Speaker. What's important now is that the Conservatives stop with the partisan attacks, roll up their sleeves, get down to work so that we can better protect our democratic institutions. That is work that the government has been committed to doing since day one. This is not a partisan issue. We need to work together to overcome the challenges of foreign interference.
Honourable Member for Brantford Brant.
Mr. Speaker, this whole government is about partisanship. From day one, the Prime Minister has had zero interest in letting Canadians learn the truth. He refused to tell us what he knew and why he did nothing about it. He selfishly used David Johnston to delay the process and cool the air around the issue. Now that Mr. Johnston has resigned, it's time for the Prime Minister to do what Canadians are asking. And while he laughs at me, I will ask him the question: when will he call a public inquiry right here, right now?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, when I was in opposition, I was a critic for public safety. We asked for information on national security. We asked to be able to see into every corner of government. The minister at that time, who's now the leader of the official opposition, said no to an independent group of parliamentarians who could look into every aspect of national security. We said yes. So the members opposite had an opportunity using NSI COP. They then had an opportunity offered by the Prime Minister for the leader of the opposition to get a briefing. Also said no. They have another opportunity now to collaborate and to stop being so partisan and to put the national interest first and participate, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member, l'Honorable Député de Mégantic-L'Érable.
The Honourable Member for Mégantic-L'Érable. This morning, we found out that the RCMP has launched 100 investigations into intimidation. So over 100 Canadians have possibly been intimidated by a foreign regime. A true leader, Mr. Speaker, makes decisions and takes responsibility for them. But this Prime Minister doesn't do either of those things. He doesn't make important decisions on his own. That's why he chose a special rapporteur. That's why he is having his friend, the Minister of Intergovernmental Affairs, try to waffle and avoid an independent public inquiry. It's time to finally call a public independent commission of inquiry, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Public Safety Minister. Mr. Speaker, I would like to express my gratitude to the RCMP Commissioner who briefed the committee earlier today. The evidence, the proof of these investigations, which have been handled by the RCMP, are tangible proof of our fight against foreign interference. We need Conservatives to stop with their squabbles and picking fights, stop the partisanship. We need them to do some serious work to help us better protect our democratic institutions. The Honourable Member for Mégantic-L'Érable. 4 days ago, the Special Rapporteur announced his resignation, but he's still working on submitting his final report, even though the report has already lost all credibility. The Prime Minister has opted for partisanship, rejecting 3 requests from a majority of MPs in this House to call an independent public inquiry. The Prime Minister also chose a friend and member of the Trudeau Foundation, who he then literally threw under the bus instead of himself, to prevent Canadians from finding out the whole truth. When will the Prime Minister launch an independent public inquiry so that we can get to the bottom of everything related to Beijing's interference? The Honourable Minister of Intergovernmental Affairs. Mr. Speaker, it's a bit rich, isn't it, that the Conservatives are bringing up partisanship in their questions? The Conservatives are the ones who decided to turn this matter, the important matter of protection of democratic institutions and foreign interference, into a partisan matter. And moreover, Mr. Speaker, when they were in government, they did nothing to combat this interference, which has been a threat and was a threat during the years they were in office. We have taken action, we will continue to take action, and we hope that they will work with us. The Honourable Member for Trois-Rivières. Mr. Speaker, the Bloc Québécois is working as a team, cooperating to ensure that a public inquiry into Chinese interference is finally launched. We have submitted names of prospective commissioners in order to facilitate consensus and to ensure that the government finally launches the inquiry before we rise for the summer. But the ball is in the government's court. Of course, no one will take on the commissioner role blindly after the trap the government set for David Johnston. That's why the government needs to announce 2 things. First, that it is launching a public and independent commission of inquiry, and second, that its commissioner will be able to define its terms of reference. When will the government finally reveal its intentions? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, as the Prime Minister said a few moments ago, we appreciate the suggestions we have received from the Bloc Québécois. The potential commissioners they have suggested are excellent candidates, credible individuals. This is a good start to a substantive discussion. We share the Bloc Québécois' concerns when it comes to taking action swiftly, fast enough to not delay a public process. We look forward to working with the Bloc and with other political parties too, I hope, in order to select an individual or individuals who can lead the Commission and choose the right terms of reference, and their suggestions are a great start. The Honourable Member for Trois-Rivières. Mr. Speaker, no one in their right mind would accept such a position without being assured of their independence from the government. This is why the government must announce a genuine commission of inquiry and give its future commissioner the necessary leeway with regard to its terms of reference. At this point, not revealing these key details about a commission is the main obstacle to the inquiry process. And after almost 4 months of avoiding a public inquiry, interference is still taking place. It would be easier to conclude that the government is still trying to prevent a public inquiry. What's the government waiting for to reveal its intentions and tell the public the truth? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, we are not trying to block the process. On the contrary, we are seeking to work together. The letter we received from the leader of the Bloc Québécois is an important step for us, an important step in constructive discourse. Furthermore, Mr. Speaker, NSI COP's work is ongoing. CSIS's work is ongoing as well. My colleague, the Minister for Public Safety, will have legislative action soon as well. We look forward to working collaboratively with the opposition. The Honourable Member for Laurentides-Labelle. Mr. Speaker, we don't use public commissions of inquiry to look into easy issues. They exist precisely to deal with sensitive topics where the information is not accessible because those who have the information are either afraid or unwilling to cooperate. Now, of course, it's tricky. Of course, there will be times when the hearings are held behind closed doors. Commissions of inquiry are designed to deal with that. If it wasn't sensitive, we wouldn't need a public and independent commission of inquiry. But that's where we're at today. So when will the government finally announce the public and independent commission of inquiry? The Honourable Public Safety Minister. Mr. Speaker, I would like to start by thanking our Bloc colleagues for their suggestions. My colleague brought up some issues that we will have to make decisions on. For example, how to best protect our national security institutions. There will be challenges to navigate. We can do so through open, transparent discussions. There's another investment, which is another action. There's $49 million for the RCMP. That is one way, just one way, that we can better protect Canadians.
Mr. Speaker, in Oshawa, the dream of home ownership historically is within reach of young people who work hard, save for a down payment, and feel confident in their choice to be successful. Not anymore. This Liberal government has killed that dream. The Prime Minister's record deficits feed inflation, cause interest rates to approach highs not seen in years, and has killed that dream. With starter homes around $1 million, Mr. Speaker, young people are giving up hope. Will the government today state the date they will balance the budget, or will they continue to kill the dream of Canada's youngest and brightest?
The Honourable Minister for Tourism.
The number one thing that the Conservative Party of Canada could do to help with the affordability of housing for Canadians from coast to coast to coast is to stop grandstanding in this place, to actually support a budget that helps Canadians. $4 billion for the Housing Accelerator Fund, $4 billion for Indigenous housing, Mr. Speaker, money to make sure that the cities can actually put up housing where it's needed. This is all bluff and bluster. We're here acting for Canadians from coast to coast to coast.
The Honourable Member for Bellechasse is HML-Lévis. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this Prime Minister's inflationary policies are causing real harm, and sometimes it's incredibly sad. One example, the exponential rise in rents. They have doubled, and many people are ending up on the streets. There's a disabled woman on Montreal's South Shore. She has to stay in a motel room that she pays for on credit with her credit card because she can't find suitable accommodation at a reasonable price. Mr. Speaker, what does this Prime Minister have to say to this woman who is suffering and struggling today? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Here's what I have to say to that woman. We have built 500,000 units. 500,000 units were either renovated or built. Now, Mr. Speaker, when we talk about access to housing, that also relates to the right to housing. And thus far, the Conservative Party has opposed the right to housing. The Honourable Member for Bellechasse is HML-Lévis. Mr. Speaker, young people are living in basements. Students are living in shelters. Another heartbreaking example for you. There's a Montreal couple. They have to sleep in their car because they can't find affordable housing. The government is spending recklessly, and that spending is driving up inflation. They need to take action now, today. What is their plan to return to a balanced budget, Mr. Speaker? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, my colleagues across the way, I encourage them to talk amongst themselves so that they can actually decide on what they want to say to Canadians. Do they want us to invest in housing? Because that's what we're doing. Do they want us to stop the national housing strategy? What do they want? They need to decide amongst themselves and then tell Canadians.
Mr. Speaker, the rising cost of rent is hitting thousands of Canadians of all ages hard who are seeing their leases increase by up to 55%. This is completely immoral, Mr. Speaker, just like this Prime Minister, who is more concerned with giving out rebates than finding solutions to inflation. Mr. Speaker, does this worn-out government see that rent increases no longer make sense, and can it get busy finding solutions to really help Canadians? The Honourable Minister for Sports. If the Conservatives take to heart the issues of Canadians, they should show the example when they're in the House. They should vote in favour for measures that we have implemented to help people that need it the most. Like, for example, reduced costs for childcare. For example, helping families to bring their children and their seniors to dentists. However, the Conservatives have no solutions to offer, and they continue to vote against our measures that truly help people that really need it. It's completely incoherent, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Vancouver Kingsway.
Today, New Democrats introduced our plan to deliver prescription medicines for all. Our push comes after the health minister blocked reforms meant to save Canadians billions on drug costs. Mr. Speaker, too often we've seen this government put the interests of big pharma ahead of patients, and it's now clear that only public pharmacare will save our healthcare system billions and help millions of people. So will the health minister assure Canadians that he'll put their health ahead of pharmaceutical industry profits and implement the NDP pharmacare plan?
The Honourable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to our colleague for his collaboration and support towards building and tabling a bill on pharmacare in the next few months. Now, that is going to lead to greater accessibility, greater affordability, and greater appropriateness of the use of drugs in this country. We look forward to reviewing his bill, and we look forward to working with all members of this House towards a better drug system for all Canadians.
The Honourable Member for Vancouver East.
People are struggling to pay their rent, buy groceries, afford their medication. I've met seniors who are taking their pills every other day or cutting them in half to make them last longer. Today, New Democrats introduced a plan to help Canadians to afford their prescription drugs. The Liberals have been promising pharmacare for 25 years without acting. People are counting on this government to make life more affordable, but they're letting them down. Will the Liberals finally support the NDP's plan for universal pharmacare to help Canadians to make ends meet?
The Honourable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and the member is correct. Now, people are counting on this government to make life more affordable for seniors, for families of children, including the 300,000 children who have received the Canada dental benefits since December last year. These, Mr. Speaker, are children that can now go and see a dentist or a hygienist, have access to proper and affordable oral health care, which we all know is essential for global health in this particular country.
For Davenport.
Mr. Speaker, in my riding of Davenport, we've been watching in horror as Russia continues to strike civilian targets in its unprovoked, unjustified, and illegal invasion of Ukraine. Canada stands shoulder to shoulder with the people of Ukraine, and we will do so for as long as it takes. Can the Minister of National Defense please provide an update on the additional support we are providing to Ukrainians in the face of Russia's brutal invasion?
Minister of Defense.
Mr. Speaker, since day one, Canada has stood steadfast with Ukraine in its fight for sovereignty, security, and territorial integrity. On the weekend, the Prime Minister announced another $500 million for Ukraine. That's going to go to extending Operation Unifier, Mr. Speaker. It's going to 10,000 rounds of ammunition, as well as almost 300 air defense missiles to protect Ukraine's skies. Mr. Speaker, we will always stand with Ukraine in the short and the long term. Our support will not waver. Slava Ukraini.
The honourable member for Huron-Bruce.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker. Friedman once said, inflation is always and everywhere a monetary phenomenon, a problem of printing too much money. Well, these Liberals have been printing money for 8 years. Now they've doubled our debt, and everyday inflation is out of control. You can drive up and down any country road, you can visit any small town, and you will see the effects of inflation and high interest rates. Mr. Speaker, when will these Liberals get off the backs of Canadians and out of their back pockets?
The Honourable Minister for Tourism.
Mr. Speaker, I understand the challenges that Canadians are facing right now, and so does our government. But you heard it right there, Mr. Speaker. Once again, the Conservative Austerity Caucus on overdrive. Mr. Speaker, what would they cut? The Canada Child Benefit that actually provides thousands of families in my riding of Edmonton Centre with supports every month? Would they cut the new dental program that is providing supports to 11 million Canadians from coast to coast to coast? Or, Mr. Speaker, maybe they just don't care about Canadian workers and they'll cut their benefits. Austerity there, supports here. That's our job. We're going to keep doing it.
Good job. The honourable member for Huron-Bruce.
I think that cabinet minister needs to get out of his ivory tower and wake up to everyday common problems that Canadians face. You take a look at it, Mr. Speaker. Canadians will be going to renew their mortgages in 2024 and 2025, and they're going to be up to some grim reality with what those interest rates are. In addition to that, businesses are trying to make investments to improve productivity, which will actually reduce inflation. Imagine that. So when are these Liberals, out of control spending, going to get spending under control, reduce inflation, and get interest rates under control? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister for Immigration.
It's fascinating to watch my colleague make a case for classic neoliberal economics, which tends to favor the wealthy and doesn't do much for working class people who live in communities like mine. The reality, Mr. Speaker, is that their argument to deal with the rising cost of living is to make sure that families receive less money from the government to help them with the cost of living. We believe something fundamentally different. We believe in supporting students through a generous Canada Students Grant. We believe in supporting families with the Canada Child Benefit. We believe in supporting seniors with a more generous old age security. We are going to continue to support workers with a Canada Workers Benefit. Every step of the way, we're here for the working class. They're here for the wealthy.
I just want to remind the honourable member for Sturgeon River Parkland that he does have a strong voice, and even if he thinks he's just talking and whispering, it's rather loud. So maybe take care of that voice and make sure that it's for the people around you, not for everyone. The honourable member for Simcoe North.
Mr. Speaker, it was a little puzzling last week. On the same day the Bank of Canada raised interest rates, the finance minister said, "We are very close to the end of this difficult time and a return to low, stable inflation and strong and steady growth." Except now experts are saying the risk is that inflation won't come down, which means interest rates and mortgage rates will be higher. Isn't it time that the government cut inflationary deficits or inflationary taxes like the carbon tax so interest rates and mortgage rates can come down for Canadians?
Great job, the Honourable Minister for Tourism.
I respect the honourable colleague a great deal, and he knows, like we do, that the inflationary cycle taking place in Canada is not a Canada-only phenomenon. Inflation is taking place across the world, Mr. Speaker. But look, let's listen to the Governor of the Bank of Canada, Tiff Macklin, who said the government spending patterns are not standing in the way of inflation getting back to target. And in our projections, which incorporate those measures, we have inflation coming back to target.
Forced him go north.
Mr. Speaker, it was a previous Bank of Canada governor that said government deficits made interest rates go higher this year. But let's talk about the government's predictions. They said interest rates would remain low forever. They haven't. They said inflation wouldn't come. It has. They said once inflation came, it would just be here a short time. It's still here. Now they tell everybody that inflation's coming down and the economic certainty is over. So do all the ministers agree with the finance minister, or how many predictions does someone need to get wrong before they're held accountable?
Absolutely. The Honourable Minister of Tourism.
Mr. Speaker, I suspect that many people on that side were predicting that Stephen Harper would win the 2015 election. And how did they get those predictions? On this side of the House, Mr. Speaker, we are focusing on Canadians. We are making sure that healthcare is stabilized for a generation. We're making sure that we're growing the economy. We're helping those Canadians who need it most. And Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives won't tell Canadians where they would cut. So the question is, where would they cut? Let's hope we never find out. We're going to keep delivering for Canadians.
L'honorable député de...
The Honourable Member for Thérèse de Blainville. Mr. Speaker, there are workers who are losing weeks of work because of the forest fires, and not all of them will be starting work again in the short term. These are seasonal workers, for example, in the forestry, tourism, outfitting and other industries. The federal government says, just 1 second, it's nothing personal, I'd like the Honourable Member to begin, but before that, there's a bit of chit-chat happening on both sides of the House, and it's rather loud.
To really, if they want to talk to each other, it's fine. But just maybe either whisper somebody close, or if you're far away, don't yell across the floor. Maybe just go outside and come back. That's allowed. L'honorable...
The Honourable Member for Thérèse de Blainville from the top. Mr. Speaker, there are workers who are losing weeks of work because of the forest fires, and not all of them will be starting work again in the short term. These are seasonal workers, especially in the forestry, tourism, outfitting and other industries. The federal government says it will speed up their employment insurance claims. That's all well and good for some, but it's no help to all the workers who don't qualify because of the excessive 700-hour threshold. Will the Minister relax the criteria to ensure that no unemployed worker is left out in the cold? The Honourable Minister for Families. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to thank my honourable colleague for that important question. As I mentioned a week ago, Service Canada will accept applications for workers that have been impacted by the forest fires. They can apply even if they don't have even if they don't reach the usual threshold. And we will undertake every measure necessary to make sure that these workers receive employment insurance. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for Thérèse de Blainville. At this rate, the trees will grow back before help arrives. Mr. Speaker, it's the same thing every time. Every time there's a crisis, 6 out of 10 workers are abandoned by the employment insurance regime. And every time the federal government finds a way to be surprised. We wouldn't need emergency flexibility today if the government had reformed employment insurance as they had promised. But history is repeating itself once again because of its broken promises. When will the government announce emergency measures for all workers that have been hit hard by the fires, including those who have fallen through the cracks?
Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And we understand, obviously, the seriousness of the challenges that many Canadian workers, including those in Quebec, are facing right now. We are with them on the ground. We encourage all workers impacted by wildfires to apply for EI as soon as possible, even without a record of employment. We are on top of this, Mr. Speaker, and we will be there for Canadian workers. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, due to this government's overreach, overspending and overtaxation, the financial pressure on Canadians has become overwhelming. In my region and across Canada, Canadians are struggling. Our Atlantic premiers have been clear. They need relief and they need it now. Meanwhile, the government is busy doing their dastardly dance of disorder with the Davos wonder class, amassing wealth and jet-setting around the world, all the while taxing the little guy for simply driving to work. When will this government stop fanning the flames of inflation and provide much-needed relief that Canadians are desperate for?
The Honourable Minister for Families.
Mr. Speaker, what the member opposite is talking about is things like the Canada Child Benefit or the Canada Workers Benefit or the Climate Action Incentive that is actually providing thousands of dollars into the pockets of Canadians. So I think the real question that Canadians want to know is, what are the Conservatives planning to cut? What services, what benefits are they planning to cut that Canadians will no longer have access to? We saw under, the decade of darkness, if my colleague wants to continue with the alliteration of Harper, that they cut services and benefits to Canadians. Well, on this side of the House, Mr. Speaker, we believe in supporting Canadians. Thank you.
The honourable member for Tobique-Mactaquac.
Well, Mr. Speaker, Canadians are tired of this government's tepid tiptoeing through the tulips of political expediency with clear non-answers just display like that. Mr. Speaker, Canadians are financially battered, beaten, and broken, and are tired of being belittled. When will this government end the delays, the denials, and the deflection, and finally address the escalating dismay of being overlooked, overwhelmed, and overtaxed? Canadians are desperate for relief. When is it coming?
The Honourable Minister for Families.
I will grant him that he can make an alliteration, but what he clearly can't do is see the policies that are actually helping Canadians. Mr. Speaker, what Canadians need to know is, what are the Conservatives planning on cutting? Because what they're talking about are services and supports for Canadians. Mr. Speaker, we are there for the lowest income, most vulnerable Canadians. We have cut poverty for children in this country in half since 2015. Mr. Speaker, poverty under the Conservatives flatlined. They did nothing to help low-income Canadians. We don't believe that's the right process, and we're going to continue to support them. Thank you.
For Carlton Trail, Eagle Creek.
After 8 years, this Prime Minister is out of touch, and Canadians are out of money. The Liberals' out-of-control spending has caused inflation to reach record levels. That's not all that's reaching record levels, Mr. Speaker. More Canadians are using food banks than ever before. In fact, just last month, the food bank in Saskatoon held a food drive, as food bank usage has reached a new record of 24,000 people monthly. Will the Prime Minister reverse his inflationary policies so that Canadians can afford to put food on the table?
The Honourable Minister for Natural Resources.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And certainly affordability is a critically important concern to this government. We have done enormous things to work with Canadians to try to ensure that affordability is something that it applies to everyone in this country, and certainly we agree with the opposition that it's an important issue that needs to be addressed. But talk about out of touch, Mr. Speaker. We are seeing forest fires across this country that are the product of climate change. We are facing a party that has no policy on climate change. In fact, it's not even clear that they believe in climate change and the scientific reality of climate change. Talk about out of touch, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Dorval-Lachine-LaSalle. Mr. Speaker, my colleague, the Minister for Family, Children and Social Development, was in Montreal yesterday to announce a major contribution to social finance, not only for Quebec, but for all of Canada. Can the Minister tell us more about the Social Finance Fund? How this fund will help to increase the positive impact that socially oriented organizations have on our society? Thank you. The Honourable Member for Families. Yesterday, we celebrated the launch of this fund, which is a $755 million initiative aimed at stimulating the growth of the social finance market. This plays a crucial role in the fight against issues such as access to affordable housing, food insecurity, and poverty. By facilitating access to flexible financing opportunities, the fund helps social purpose organizations to grow, innovate, and deepen the impact of their actions on society, the economy, and the environment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Lambton, Kent, Middlesex.
Mr. Speaker, the carbon tax could cost each farmer $150,000 per year, and that's before the second carbon tax comes next month. This tax on tax drives up the cost of food production. It's simple math. If it costs a farmer more to grow food, it's going to cost Canadians more to feed their families, and it's going to put the future of our Canadian farms at risk. No farms, no food, Mr. Speaker. So will this government give Canadians a break and axe their carbon taxes?
The The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In this country, rage farming is not an agricultural policy. On this side of the House, we believe in investing in farmers. We've invested $500 million to support our agricultural sector. We've invested almost $1 billion to support farmers' transition as they buy new equipment to lower their carbon footprint, Mr. Climate change is real. In 2021, 30% of grains didn't make it to market. On that side of the House, they still don't have a climate plan.
That's right. The Honourable Member for Lambton Kent.
Speaker, you can't fight fires with inflation.
Order. The Honourable Member for Lambton Kent from the top, please.
Thank you. Well, Mr. Speaker, you can't fight fires with inflation. This Liberal government's inflation is causing the cost of food and groceries to skyrocket. Farmers pay carbon tax to get their crops from the field to their warehouse, from the warehouse to the grocer's warehouse. Then the grocers pay carbon tax to get the food to the grocery store. And then families pay carbon tax to drive to the grocery store to buy their food. This tax on tax on tax, it never ends, and it's increasing the cost of our food. There's no common sense in this. So when will this government axe their carbon taxes?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Agriculture.
Mr. Speaker, as the honourable member knows, farm fuel are exempted from any price on pollution. As the honourable member knows, and I would encourage her to speak to canola farmers, as she would know that the clean fuel standard is great for farmers.
We started. We were doing so well. We're doing so well. I'm just going to ask everybody to take a deep breath. Order.
I was just trying to translate.
Order. Order. Now, let's all listen to each other's, not while we're shouting, but just while one person is speaking, and then one person will ask a question, one person will answer. That's the way it's supposed to work. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary from the top, please.
Mr. Speaker, a noisy plan is not a climate plan. We believe on this side of the House that farm fuel should be exempted on farms, and they are, Mr. Speaker. We also believe that the clean fuel standard will bring great opportunities for farmers, and especially canola farmers. I would encourage the members on the other side, especially out west, to have a conversation with the canola growers and see if they're supportive of this particular policy, because they are.
Exactly. The Honourable Member for Kamloops, Thompson, Caribou.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals are at it again, trying to silence those who disagree. Because I clapped in support of a public inquiry, the Attorney General sent an email from his official account. The email outlined that he was the Minister of Justice and Attorney General. It clearly threatened my legal reputation and my professional future. But we as Conservatives will not be silenced. Does the Attorney General think it's acceptable to threaten and intimidate an MP's reputation just because they support an inquiry?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, I did nothing of this sort. Mr. Speaker, I was deeply disappointed. Mr. Speaker, I was deeply disappointed all week to hear Conservatives attacking the reputation of Frank Iacobucci, who was a former Justice of the Supreme Court of Canada, who was a Deputy Minister.
I'm trying to hear what the Honourable Minister has to say, but the shouting starts getting louder and louder. The Honourable Member for Kamloops Thompson Caribou asked a question. I think he deserves an answer. The Honourable Minister.
I was merely reacting to the fact that the Conservatives all week had been attacking Mr. Justice Frank Iacobucci, a former Justice of the Supreme Court of Canada, a former Deputy Minister of Justice, Mr. Speaker, under the Conservatives under Brian Mulroney. And, Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Member clapped loudly when Mr. Justice's name was Mr. Justice.
The Honourable Member for Don Valley East.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Bill C-21 was designed to be part of a larger solution in mitigating gun violence here in Canada. We know that banning handguns was one part of the solution, but we also know that preventative measures can have a major impact on gun violence. Mr. Speaker, our government is investing resources into supporting programs aimed at working with young people to prevent them from getting involved in crime at a young age. Can the minister please share with this House some of the steps we are taking to invest in preventative programs and services directly aimed to young people?
The Honourable Minister for Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank my colleague for the question. And to eradicate gun violence, we need strong laws, strong borders, and strong prevention. We're rolling out a $250 million Building Safer Communities Fund to address the root causes that my colleague talks about. But I also want to call on the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada to free his Conservative senators, free the bill. Bill C-21 is in the Senate right now. We need to read it, debate it, and pass it into law so that we can save lives. It's only the Conservatives who continue to stand in the way in this legislation. All other four parties in this House passed it. Let's save lives. Thank you very much.
The Honourable Member for Skeena-Bulkley Valley.
Mr. Speaker, if the Roberts Bank Terminal 2 port expansion is fully automated, it could cause a ripple effect across other Canadian ports that cost thousands of jobs. Mr. Speaker, I'm going to start again if you don't mind.
Yeah, this is...
Okay, thank you. Just pipe down a little bit in the rage farm here. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I was distracted and I couldn't hear the noise that was going on because we were trying to look at what's going on. I'm going to ask the Honourable Member to start from the top so we can hear his question. I'm going to ask everyone to take a deep breath and not heckle each other. Just try to be nice. The Honourable Member for Skeena-Bulkley Valley.
Mr. Speaker, if the Roberts Bank Terminal 2 port expansion is fully automated, it could cause a ripple effect across other Canadian ports that cost this country thousands of jobs. At the same time, there are very serious environmental concerns. The federal government's own review process called the environmental damage from this project permanent and irreversible. The ILWU has reached out to the minister and expressed strong concerns on both of these fronts, and yet he approved the project without even reaching out to them. How can this minister say that he's on the side of working people when he ignores the concerns of Canada's largest port workers?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Speaker, our government respects and has faith in the collective bargaining process. We believe that the best deals are the ones that are made and reached at the bargaining table. The parties are negotiating with the help of a federal mediator right now. We have confidence in the parties' ability to work together to reach a deal as quickly as possible. Thank you very much.
Honourable Member for Port Moody, Coquitlam.
Mr. Speaker, my office has been flooded with calls. Canadians expected to see the Canada Disability Bill arrive today, but because that's what the government had said last week. But the Liberals are still stalling. They did not keep their promise. This benefit will bring relief to those who need it the most, the thousands of Canadians living with a disability and poverty. Will the Liberals finally keep their promise and adopt this new benefit before we rise for the summer to ensure Canadians get the urgent help they need?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In Canada, no person with disability should live in poverty. That's why we are creating the Canada Disability Benefit, an income supplement with the potential to seriously reduce poverty and increase financial security for hundreds of thousands of working-age persons with disabilities. In February, this House unanimously adopted Bill C-22, and Bill C-22 is now on the calendar for tomorrow for debate. We are looking forward to getting this legislation past the finish line. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I'm afraid that's all the time we have for question period today. C'est tout le temps que nous avons pour la période de questions aujourd'hui.
We have no further questions. Moving on. Oh, we have a point of order. The Honourable Member for Rivière-du-Nord. There has been discussions between the parties. I believe that there will be unanimous consent for the following motion. Given that French is one of Canada's 2 official languages, and that the 1982 Constitution gives... Just one moment. There's an issue with interpretation. If I may, if the member could start over from the top. Thank you very much. So, Mr. Speaker, there has been consultations among the parties. I believe that there will be unanimous consent for the following motion. Given that French is one of Canada's 2 official languages and that the 1982 Constitution recognizes the importance of both official languages in the Canadian Parliament. Members of the House must ask the Special Joint Committee on the declaration of emergency to suspend its operations until the documents tabled by the Honourable Paul Rouleau be tabled in both official languages for the benefit of committee members. Could all opposed to the motion please say nay? There is no unanimous consent.
It being 3:18, pursuant to order. The honourable member for Kamloops Thompson Caribou is rising on a point of order.
I'm just waiting for the member for Kingston and the Islands to end his diatribe so that I can address the chair, because last time I checked, I had the floor.
I'm just waiting for everyone to calm down, and then we'll give the floor over. Please, go ahead.
Mr. Speaker, the member for Kingston and the Islands just said something unparliamentary to me about having a thin skin and about being offended, given what the Minister of Justice did, which was threaten my professional future and threaten my legal reputation. This isn't funny. He should be apologizing and withdrawing that comment forthwith.
The honourable member for Kingston and the Islands.
Mr. Speaker, I do apologize for reflecting on the fact that the member has a thin skin.
An apology. No, I'm going to... Order. That's more of a mockery than an apology. I'm going to ask the honourable member for Kingston and the Islands to apologize like he means it.
I apologize.
It being 3:20, pursuant to order made on Thursday, June 23rd, 2022, the House will now proceed to the taking of deferred recorded division on the motion to concur in the fourth report of the Standing Committee on Human Resources, Skills and Social Development and the Status of Persons with Disabilities. Convoquez les députés.
Call on the members.
Very good.
The question is as follows.
Seconded by Mr. Generous, moved that the fourth report of the Standing Committee on Human Resources, Skills and Social Development and the Status of Persons with Disabilities presented on Wednesday, October